Hare Krishna. I welcome you all for today's Bhakti Sastri class. We'll begin with Mangalacharan prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we are going to look at the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is also called Dhyana Yoga. So Dhyana Yoga is where you do meditation. So what yoga are we following in ISKCON? Bhakti Yoga, right? Why do we need to study about Dhyana Yoga? Different ways to achieve Krishna. Okay. Anyone else? Hare Krishna. This is the question. Any other thought? We must be wasting our time, right? We should directly study Bhakti Yoga in Bhagavad Gita. Why even Krishna bothered to speak about Dhyana Yoga when Krishna says at the end to Arjuna, Sarva Dharman Parityajya, give up everything and then surrender unto me. Okay, so there are many answers. We'll look at all of them. The first one, if you look at it, this is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one of the acharyas in our parampara. He says, Jigyashuna nijamatam nyeyam paramatam buddhaihi. So, the person who is inquisitive, he learns about one's own path. The person who is wise, Buddha, he learns about all the paths. So, if you want to be a wise person, not just you learn about your path, but you also learn all other spiritual paths. That's first. Second thing is, when you are following a path, we should be convinced that our path is the best path, right? How do you learn our path is the best path? By doing a comparative study of all the spiritual practices available. If you are not convinced that our path is the best path, then you can get distracted. Later distractions can come. So today you are practicing Bhakti Yoga. Tomorrow somebody comes and says, oh Prabhu, Mataji, there is one guru, and then he gives this practice of meditation very nicely. And if you follow that, you would actually attain result very quickly. So you might be practicing Bhakti Yoga for a long time. Then you might be thinking, oh yeah, I didn't actually achieve anything after following a long time. Probably it's time to switch the path, right? So if we have not known other paths better, then we might be thinking grass is always greener on the other side. Okay? So we should go and investigate whether grass is really green on the other side. That's what we are doing. The other thing is, Krishna also talks about Dhyana Yoga because some of the principles in that path is also useful in our own practice. So we'll look at those, especially with the mind control, with meditation. It can be also used in Bhakti Yoga, some of the principles mentioned there. So for all these purposes, Krishna discusses Dhyana Yoga in Bhagavad Gita. And because Krishna discusses various yogas in Bhagavad Gita is called the book of Yoga. All right. Feel free to ask any question anytime. Otherwise, I will be just proceeding. Okay. So actually, I should be showing this slide at the end of this session. I'm showing it in the beginning because by the time we reach the end of the session, we'll be very tired mentally and we will have little focus and attention to listen to, grasp concepts. And this is an important thing to learn here. And that's the reason I have put it first rather than at the end. Because Krishna compares the different types of yogis at the end. So I just put it at the first. Okay, it's also useful because in the first verse only, Krishna compares two types of yogis, actually three things. So there, it helps in understanding what Krishna is speaking about, even in the first verse of this chapter. So we have four types of yoga discussed in Bhagavad Gita. You have Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga or Dhyana Yoga, and then you have Bhakti Yoga. Okay. So what is the practice in Karma Yoga? So if you follow Karma Yoga, you need to follow your Swadharma. Swadharma means, first of all, you should identify what is your dharma. What is your nature? Your nature is, you could be a Brahmana, you could be a Vaishya, you could be a Kshatriya, you could be a Shudra, or you could be a beyond the Shudra level also, lower than that. So you need to identify your nature, and for each nature, there are prescribed activities to do. For example, if you are a Brahmana, Vaishya, or Kshatriya, then you need to do nitya karmas. Daily you have some karmas to practice. That, for example, you will be chanting Gayatri at 3 sandhyas, and you will be doing Panchamahayagyas. You have to do that. So Panchamahayagyas is you perform basically to Devatas and to Pitrus and to the Rishis and to the Bhutas. So many different processes you need to follow. And then periodically you will also need to follow, which are called Naimitik karmas. For example, Shraddha ceremony. If for ancestors, you go and perform yagya for their welfare. All these things come under Karma Yoga. According to your Swadharma, you also pick up your occupation. You could be a business person, you could be a administrator, or you could be a teacher, that's the Brahmana, or you could be a laborer. Most of the jobs these days are just labor-based jobs, right? So Shudra. So this is all Karma Yoga, part of, And the person who is practicing Karma Yoga is called Karmi. Usually we use the term Karmi to refer to a person who is actually materially so much engaged. This is a Karmi. We should not associate with Karmis, we say. But Karmi is a person who is also engaged in Karma Yoga. What is the goal, destination the person is going to achieve when you follow Karma Yoga? So when you follow Karma Yoga, you are going to achieve Swargaloka if you do it with a desire. Most of the people, like for example, in Kshatriya, if you fight in the war field and then you die in the battlefield, what's going to happen? The doors of heaven are open for that person. So you will immediately be raised to heaven. So similarly, the other Varnas also, they practice their Swadharma properly, but with a desire, I want to achieve heavenly world. So they will go to Swargaloka. That is called the Sakama Karma Yoga. So a lot of terminologies will come in this chapter. So just to try to focus and ask question if you don't understand. You can also perform Karma Yoga without desire for the fruits. That is called Nishkama Karma Yoga. What is the goal you will achieve? Purification of heart. Your heart will be purified. That is the goal. Not going to Swargaloka. That's not the goal. Your heart will be purified. And then once the heart is purified, you as Atma within the body, you'll get a reflection. I'm not this body. Now we have a mental concept that we are not this body, we are Atma. But we don't have that realization. But if you follow Karma Yoga properly, and then you purify your heart, you'll get that reflection that you'll start realizing. You are not inside of the virtual reality anymore. There's a person sitting outside. Okay? So that is what you'll get in Karma Yoga. Then the next process is Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga, these two are next step of Karma Yoga. Okay. So you follow Karma Yoga, you get Nishkama Karma Yoga, you purify your heart, then you are qualified to practice Jnana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. You have a choice here. Okay. So you follow Jnana Yoga. The practices, for example, they take sannyas, they renounce all the actions, they renounce family. They don't stay in the family anymore. Karma Yoga, you can stay in the family, but Jnana Yoga, you cannot. And you have to study the Vedanta Sutras. Then you contemplate on the meaning. What is Brahman? What is this? What is that? Huh? So the practitioner is generally called a jnani or a sannyasi. And his goal is Brahman. Brahman is the impersonal feature of the Lord, the light that's coming out of the Lord's body. So that is what they attain. And that is the Sat aspect of the Lord. So the Lord has three aspects: Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Sat means existence. They have a general awareness that there is something called Brahman exists. That's it. That's their realization of God. The God just exists, I exist. Together there is just only one existence. There is no separate existence. There is no difference in qualities. Nothing is realized. And then you have Ashtanga Yoga. So Ashtanga Yoga, you do meditation on Paramatma. This person is generally called yogi. Of course, we use the word yogi for a bhakti yogi also. You can use it for karma yogi, jnana yogi, you can generally use. But this particular feature is, what you can say, focused here. The yoga, the dhyana yoga, the ashtanga yoga. So that's why this person is called yogi. And his goal, he can attain Brahman or he can attain Paramatma. So Paramatma is living in everyone's heart. So he focuses there. So once he crosses that beginning stage, the final destination he is going to attain is, he will be with Paramatma. There is Lord is existing, he is existing, he will be just floating there. That's it. There is no past-time interaction. Yes, please use mic.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So if Brahman, there's Brahman who is the effulgence of the Bhagavan, and then there is Paramatma who is in our heart. And so how do we merge with Paramatma?
Okay. So Paramatma is not only in heart, there are three forms of Paramatma. We are going a little bit advanced, which is next course, Bhakti Vaibhav. But anyways, just to give a description, there are three types of Paramatmas: Karanadagashai Vishnu, Bodhagashai Vishnu, and Shirodagashai Vishnu. Shirodagashai Vishnu is what? Residing in all of our heart. Karanadagashai Vishnu is the original creator. Garbhodagashai Vishnu lives in every universe. So all three of them are called Paramatma. So when the yogi meditates on the Paramatma feature and then attains, he'll be floating in the Brahman platform, and then the Paramatma will be existing. He'll be just roaming around. And he is having a realization of Paramatma. There is no pastime. You see, Bhagavan, when you go to Bhagavan only, there is pastime. There is activities. Here there is not much of activities. You will be just there. Or unfortunate yogis, they first meditate on Paramatma, then they think, no, I have to go beyond Paramatma. I have to go beyond the form. Some people have this idea, you first meditate on God, then you have to go beyond God. So sometimes they carry that concept until the end of the perfection. From there, they withdraw their mind from Paramatma, and then they fix it on Brahman. So they achieve something lower. Again, they go back here, Brahman. So there's like two types of yogis here: successful yogi and unfortunate yogi. They realize Sat and Chit aspect. So Chit is the awareness. God's awareness is there. There is an awareness of I exist. All these things will be there. And then the third one is the Bhakti Yoga. In the Bhakti Yoga, you have the process of hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping the deity. All these things are there. The general name for the practitioner is Bhakta. It's a devotee. And what is his destination? Bhagavan. Bhagavan is what he is going to attain. Bhagavan means the form of the Lord with the pastimes. Specific feature. He could be Krishna, Vishnu, Narsingha, Vraja. All these are different forms of the Lord, and they have their specific abode. They have specific pastimes and so on. And that feature of the Lord is Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Bliss. So you have bliss everywhere, but they are all very minute compared to the bliss that is exhibited by Bhagavan. It's very, 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 very condensed bliss. Think of bliss like a milk. You take it in a vessel, and then you boil it, you condense it. It becomes very thick, like a kova, right? So that's the condensed bliss. Take bliss and then you just condense it. That's what is Bhagavan feature. Okay. All right. So the same thing I have put in a little bit different form here. The next slide. You see here, you have the karma yoga. You perform, with a desire, you go to heavenly planet. Okay. And then you perform without a desire to the goal, then you achieve purification of heart. So that is the beginning for practicing Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga. And Ashtanga Yoga, you generally achieve Paramatma. Jnana Yoga, you generally achieve Brahman. So Karma Yoga is just like a beginning. You cannot achieve directly the form of the Lord from Karma Yoga here. Okay? Then you have Bhakti Yoga. It's like one path. You practice in the beginning Bhakti, middle Bhakti, end Bhakti. Everything is just Bhakti. And then you achieve Bhagavan form of the Lord. Okay. There are some more concepts that will be discussed in Bhagavad Gita as well, which is called Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, Yoga Mishra Bhakti, all these things. Basically, in Bhakti Yoga, you can practice purely Bhakti Yoga. Or you can mix some elements of Karma Yoga into it, or Jnana Yoga into it, or Ashtanga Yoga into it. When you start mixing up, you also don't get pure result, you get mixed up result. Okay. Same thing you can do with others. In Jnana Yoga, you can practice Bhakti also a little bit. And you can practice in Ashtanga Yoga also in Bhakti. So even Patanjali, he says actually Ishvara Pranidhan, you submit to Ishvara. There he says, because you can quickly achieve. Krishna also discusses that in 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where if you take shelter of the Lord, you can quickly achieve, rather than very long time. But Bhakti is an element that is required in all these different paths. Even though you may follow Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, or Ashtanga Yoga, you cannot purely follow. You have to embed a little bit Bhakti in that. Why? Without the mercy of the Lord, nobody can attain their destination. There has to be worship of the Lord in those different paths. Okay, any questions, any doubts before we move on to the next one? Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu. Is that in achieving Bhakti Yoga, we don't want to have any mixed results, even if our goal is Bhakti Yoga, but there are other practices mixed in there? It should be pure Bhakti. Is that right?
Ma'am, could you a little bit speak louder?
Yeah. So we don't want to have any mixed results in Bhakti. The aim should be pure Bhakti. Is that?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, if that depends again on one's qualification. For example, mixing Karma Yoga means like, I have some, I have an idea that, I need to perform my Swadharma. Otherwise, I cannot achieve final result even in Bhakti. If we have that kind of mentality, then it is mixed Bhakti. Mixed Bhakti leads to reduced result. For example, if you follow pure Bhakti, you will achieve the pastimes of the Lord close to Him, right? If you practice mixed Bhakti, what happens? You will have distance from the Lord. You will not have very close association with the Supreme Lord in His pastimes in the final perfection. When you start mixing up elements. So reduced Bhakti leads to different results.
So if anyone achieves Paramatma or Brahman, would they be able to come back? I think you mentioned that if they go to Swarga Loka, they will be able to come. They will come back to the material world and be able to achieve Krishna. But in case of Paramatma or Bhagavan, would they come back or?
So these are usually said to be the permanent destinations. You don't come back. Brahma Bhuvana Loka. In Brahma Loka you achieve, you come back. Krishna doesn't say that you achieve Brahman realization and you come back. However, the 10th canto of Bhagavatam also says, those who think they achieved the liberation, they offend the Supreme Lord. If you follow in the practice of Jnana and then you offend a devotee, or if you think that Supreme Lord is actually Maya, right? That's an offense. They think they have achieved the result. They will be in a very high position in this world, But then from there, they will fall down. That's called Jivan Mukti. From the Jivan Mukti state, that's also liberated state, but they have not given up their body. So you achieve liberation, but you are in final stage. If you give up your body, liberation is permanent. But you have not achieved liberation. From there, you can still fall down if you commit an offense. So that's the falling down. But once you achieve there, then you don't usually fall down. Okay, a little more. All right. So this, I have like 7 to 8 slides. We'll look at these slides. Then we will look at verse by verse of that chapter. Okay. Because these concepts will make you to understand the verses very nicely. Okay. So what is Ashtanga Yoga? Ashta Anga. 8 limbs. That is what Ashtanga. Okay. Ashta means 8. 8-limbed yoga. That is called Ashtanga Yoga. You have 8 limbs you can see here. Yama, Niyama, Pranayama, Asana, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. 8 limbs. These are not 8 stages. It's not like you first practice Yama, then you go to Niyama, then you practice Pranayama. It's not like that. So these are like 8 limbs combination. Even in Dharana and Dhyana stage, you should practice Yama, Niyama, Pranayama, all these things. Okay. So what is Yama? Yama is more like don'ts. You shouldn't do hingsa to other living entities. That's called ahimsa. You should not speak lies. That's satya. You should not steal. Asteya. You should not have sexual indulgence. That's the brahmacharya. You should not possess things. That is aparigraha. Okay. So this is yama. Don't. And then you have do's. Niyama. Saucha, you should be very clean. Santosha, you should be content within yourself. Tapas, you should perform austerity. Swadhyaya, you should study the scriptures. Ishwara Pranidhan, you worship the Ishwara, the Supreme Lord. So these are do's and don'ts. Right? Then you have pranayama. So again, when you start following Ashtanga Yoga when your heart is purified, as we saw previously. Without a purification of a heart, you start practicing Ashtanga Yoga, you will practice sometime and then you will start buying Tesla car on the side and then you will be driving around to Las Vegas. So you should have purification in your heart. So you have all these things, you will start following there. And third one is pranayama. So before you sit for yoga, you sit and then you do pranayama. Control the breath. You breathe in, breathe out from one nose to another nose and then both noses together. You have this practice, breath control. That is for bringing the mind to a calm state. Asana. Asana is what we perform. We have like Padmasana. We have, different Sirashasana, all these different asanas. Why they perform asanas? Because in meditation, you are going to sit for a long time. For that, your body needs to be very much flexible. If you are sitting for a long time, you can get, cramps here, there, everywhere. So you perform asana to keep it healthy and the pranas are moving nicely in your body so that you don't have any disturbance. Peacefully, you can sit and meditate. So what we did in the modern time, we took these things, 2 things out and then built out for maintaining our body nicely. Of course, these 2 maintain our body nicely, but that's not the goal here. The goal is to, do Ashtanga Yoga practice fully. But anyways, these are useful in your, maintaining your health. You can still use it. But this is mainly for, you can sit and properly meditate for a long time. Long time means years and years people meditate, sitting in a cave in Himalayas or in the banks of the Ganges. Okay. Then you have Pratyahara. This is where the actual meditation starts, the 5th limb onwards. So in Pratyahara, what do you do? You sit and close your eyes and then you start meditating. Your mind will wander, get agitated. When we chant in the morning also, same thing happens. Close your eyes and start chanting. Mind will think about all the movies we watched last night, right? All the different things we have done in office the previous day. So, bringing the mind back. the mind wanders. Its nature is chanchala. Krishna will start describing the nature of mind later. Mind will go. That is the nature of the mind. So you bring it back. Bring it back means you start thinking about the Lord or hear you the holy name. That is pratyahara. Dharana. Dharana is general meditation. Like for example, if you are meditating on the form of the Lord, initial stage, what do? You cannot fully focused meditation, you cannot do. You'll have a distance form of the Lord, like in a photo captured in your mind. You're just looking at it. Can you look at what the Lord is wearing in his legs? Maybe not. You cannot see that in your mind. That's, you have a general meditative form, but you don't have a detailed one. Dhyana is where you have detailed. Every limb by limb you can actually clearly see in your meditation. That is focused meditation, dhyana. And when this dhyana continues without any interruption, that becomes samadhi, the final stage. And the person continues on and on. Okay. These are the 8 limbs. All right. So from here onwards, we are going to look at the chapter summary. We'll look at, there are 47 verses in chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, broadly divided into 5 different topics. The first one, he discusses about Yoga Arurukshu, Yoga Arudha. This is a Sanskrit word. Krishna himself uses in Bhagavad Gita. Arurukshu means person who has desire to ascend in the path of yoga. Okay. Arudha means he has ascended already. Person who has ascended already, person who has desire to ascend. So this person practices karma yoga. This person practices Ashtanga yoga in this case, or you could practice Jnana yoga also, as we previously discussed. So he discusses what is Yoga Arurukshu and Yoga Arudha differences from 1 to 9 verses, first 9 verses. Then you have the process of Ashtanga yoga. Then he goes on to talk about until verse 32, process of Ashtanga yoga. Then Arjuna puts forward the question. It's very difficult to control the mind. What are you saying? Then there is a discussion about mind control, how it can be achieved. Then Arjuna asks one more question. What will happen if a yogi failed in his practice? What happens to him? Then Krishna answers. Then finally Krishna talks about the gradation of spiritual practitioners, this 46 and 47. Different practitioners, he himself grades who is better than whom, okay, according to Krishna. Now, if you look at it, we can also use this information. For example, the process of Ashtanga yoga, which is mainly required for meditation, you can pick some elements when you are trying to meditate on the Supreme Lord of the Lord, Supreme Form of the Lord. So, one of the processes of Bhakti yoga is smarana, meditation, thinking about the Lord. So, you can take some of the elements from here and then you practice there. Mind control. We need mind control. Any yoga, you need to have mind control. If you don't have mind control, you cannot become yogi. That Krishna himself declares. It's required even in Bhakti yoga. So we can take principles from here also. Destination of a failed yogi, even for Bhakti yogi, it may not be possible that in one lifetime we'll achieve the destination. What will happen to us in next life? So we have answer here. And then gradation of spiritual practitioners, Krishna himself says who is the best yogi. Then we'll look at that. So these are the summaries. So what we can do, we'll stop here and then we'll look at the summary details side by side when we are actually studying the verses, so that it helps. Where are we looking at? We have until 3 o'clock, correct? Okay. All right, before we begin, any other final questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, criticism? All right. Okay, repeat after me. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Anashrita Karma Phalam karyam karma karoti yah sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragni na chakriyah. So it's not very big. Let's see what I can do. Maybe so we are looking at this. So in the first two verses, Krishna says why Nishkama Karma Yoga is a necessary prerequisite for Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga. This is what he discusses in first two verses. Okay, let's read the translation, please.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "One who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as if he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty."
Okay, so one who is unattached to the fruits of his work. This is Nishkama Karma Yogi. Karma Yogi, he is doing work, but he is not attached to the fruits of work. So he is Nishkama Karma Yogi. So this person is qualified to become, take renounced order of life with this sannyas. You can take sannyas. Not the person who lights no fire and performs no duty. That means my heart is not purified. I will sit in some place and then I will think that I am going to meditate. I close my eyes. After only some time I figure out that my mind is wandering here and there. So that is not the person who is simply externally showing off, but internally his heart is not purified. That person is not a sannyasi. The sannyasi is internal purification. That has to be there. External is just a matter of custom. Yam sannyasam prahu yogam tam vidhi pandava na hyas sannyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. Translation.
What is called renunciation you should know to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the Supreme. O son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification.
So here, Krishna is equating yoga and sannyasa. So if you look at it in the previous verse, from karma yoga, you do without desire nishkama, practice, you can take to practice of jnana yoga and ashtanga yoga. So both of these you are eligible, and both of them are equal in the sense that they are going to achieve the supreme final destination. So that is what Krishna says. They are renunciation, that is sannyas, is same as yoga, the process of yoga. Okay, and both of them require renunciation of desire for enjoyment. Okay, internal heart should be purified. Arurukshor muner yogam karma karanamuchyate yogarudhasya tasyaiva shamah karanamuchyate. Okay, going back here. So now he is giving the definition of yogarudha and yogarurukshu. So if you look at the verse, you have arurukshu and then you have yogarudha. Okay. So let's look at Prabhupada's translation.
Hare Krishna. For one who is a neophyte in the Eightfold Yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means.
Okay. So neophyte, which is the yoga rurukshu, that means he has a desire for practicing yoga, climbing the yoga ladder, not yoga ladder, climbing the to the top of the yoga. Okay, so that is the neophyte, that is the yoga rurukshu. And then we have already elevated in yoga, that is yoga rudha. He has already perfected, or he has purified his heart. So if you look at it, this neophyte should practice work. Work means karma yoga. But if you're advanced, what do you practice? You should stop all your material activities. That means you go and renounce sannyas and sit in the forest and start meditating. That's the process, which his heart is purified. Okay. Yada hinendriyartheshu na karmas vanusajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yoga rudhas tadochyate. Translation. You have to press the button.
Hello. A person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities.
Okay. So here in the fourth verse, Krishna is talking about the symptoms of yoga rudha, or the person who is purified in heart. So here, what is the symptom? He does not have any material desires. And he does not have any impetus to engage in those activities for enjoyment, sense enjoyment. That person is yoga rudha. Uddharet atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hyatmano bandhur atmaiva ripuratmanaha. The verse is full of atma. But the word atma in general means self. So what is a self? What can self refer to? Please, use mic.
The soul.
The soul, okay. What else? Yes.
The subtle body?
Subtle body, okay.
Our awareness and our thinking.
Awareness and thinking, which is soul and subtle body, okay. It looks like you are all elevated. Don't talk about the cross body at all.
So it is the actual I, Prabhuji. I means the soul, right? Not the body.
The I-ness.
Yes.
Okay. Who is that?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. This is Shyam Chandra Das.
Shyam Sundar Prabhu. Thank you.
Shyam Chandra.
Shyam Charan. Okay.
Chandra.
Shyam Chandra. Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful name. Thank you.
Thank you.
So when you are speaking from online, just tell me your name and speak, because I don't know who is speaking.
Sorry, Prabhuji. Sorry.
No problem. Yes. So when I say, you please come and sit here and take care of yourself, what do you do immediately? Just look at yourself, externally. Don't look at your body or soul. Correct? But that is also true. Take care of yourself. When a person is agitated by depression, you say, take care of yourself. I mean, that is referring to the subtle body, right? And then the spiritual practitioner, he comes and says, you should take care of yourself. That is the Atma. All these are referring to the same self. Okay? So, Atma has multiple meanings. It can refer to your soul, it can refer to your mind and subtle body, it can refer to your gross body as well. Okay? So here Krishna says, this is a very nice verse. A little bit we'll look at the Sanskrit here and remember, try to understand this verse and memorize this if possible. So by Atma, you should deliver the Atma. And by Atma, you should not bind the Atma in the material world. So this is the meaning. By the Atma here is referring to soul, and the another Atma is referring to mind. Using your mind, you should deliver your Atma. Using your mind, do not degrade yourself. Okay? So there, then the next line Krishna says, Atma eva atmanaha bandhu. Atma, that is the mind. Mind is one's friend. And Atma eva atmanaha ripu. Mind is one's enemy as well. So mind is one's friend, mind is one's enemy. Let's look at the translation.
One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well.
Okay. So you should use your mind to elevate yourself, not to degrade. Using your mind, you can do a lot of plannings. I can go and kill a person also. I have to use my mind to plan for that, correct? But I can also do spiritual practice. I can use my mind. I have to think, okay, morning I have to wake up and then I have to chant my rounds and I have to read this. I have to understand the philosophy here. I have to look at the Lord's form and then grasp, okay, this is how he is decorated today. He's having nice garland. He's having nice blue, red and yellow dress. To understand all these things, you need mind as well. So you can use your mind to help yourself, or you can use your mind to kill yourself. So that is why when the mind is used to help yourself, is a friend. When the mind is used to kill yourself, is an enemy, because that mind is actually doing harm to yourself. So Prabhupada, if you look at it, he says in the first line of the purport, the word Atma denotes body, mind and soul, depending upon different circumstances. Alright, next verse. Bandhuratma atmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitaha anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvat. Translation.
For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends, but for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain in the greatest enemy.
Yeah, here Krishna clarifies it. When the mind is friend and when the mind is enemy. If the mind is under our control, then the mind is a friend. If the mind is not under our control, then mind is enemy. That means mind is dictating us. So we wake up in the morning and then you think, oh, I need to eat that sandwich, the panini bread or whatever it is. So then we are just acting upon the desires of the mind. Mind is asking me to do this, so I'm going to do that. It's asking me to watch TV, I'm going to do that. It's asking me to go around, I'm going to do that. I am not in control. I don't think like, oh, I want to do this. I want to like take my chanting bag and chant. Or I go to gym, I want to go to gym. Whenever I want, I'm not able to do that. So that means I'm not in charge. Somebody else is in charge. The mind. The mind is, it has all the vasanas or the smell of the past desires. It's carrying around what we have done in the past. What things have given us pleasure in the past. What things have given us pain in the past. Based on that, it's influencing our decisions. You have done this previously, it's going to give you pain. Don't do that. You have done this previously, it's going to give you pleasure. Do that. I'm not in control. Somebody else is driving the chariot. I should be driving the chariot. Okay? So that is what Krishna is saying. Now in the second, 7th verse to 9th verse, Krishna is talking about qualification to start practicing Ashtanga Yoga. Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, in these verses,
Yes.
5 and 6, where Krishna is talking about mind, which
Yes.
is not the soul and the body, is he talking about the intelligence?
Why you say so?
Because he's saying, use your mind to deliver soul, use your mind not to degrade soul. So
that mind is the intelligence? Yeah, as in... Yes.
So I'm trying to understand your question because it has multiple answers. I want to narrow down to the answer you are looking for.
Which mind? Because I thought mind means... So I always thought mind means intelligence. So I just want to confirm what, because also now here Atma is referred to as mind, body and soul. I always thought Atma is just the soul. Now we have 3 meanings of Atma here. So is
Atma also means Paramatma, sir. We have 4 meanings.
So what mind is Krishna talking about here?
Okay. So as you know, I'll come to you. A related question? Okay.
I was also thinking the same. I mean, like, senses are being controlled by mind, and the mind is being controlled by intelligence. I mean, it sounds very silly, but I'm curious, like, if there was no mind, can the intelligent and senses talk among each other and there is no use of mind?
Okay.
I mean, because mind is a friend and mind is an enemy, so I'm like also confused between mind and intelligence.
Get rid of the mind. So useful, directly use the intelligence to control the senses. But you see, what does mind do? We need to understand the difference. You know, our subtle body, we have the gross body, everybody is aware. You have eyes, ears, everything, right? And there is a subtle body. The subtle body has 3 components, which is mind, intelligence, and ego, false ego, we call it, right? So, the mind, it gathers all the senses input. And then it brings the sanskara based on your past experience. It's like, think of like you're having a log, okay? So you're writing in your log all the inputs that is coming. This log, when you're searching in the log, you want some information, what happens? So many results come up, right? You have written down in the past, and the top result may come out based on what you have written multiple times in the past. I like this, I like ice cream, I like ice cream, I like ice cream, I like ice cream. The next time you search ice cream, you'll come, I like ice cream. Yes, take it and eat. Okay. So mind is like that. Mind is a tool. If you get rid of that tool, where are you going to write your log? How you are going to assemble all the inputs that is coming through your senses? You need some tool to assemble and record it so that you can process upon it. Okay. Now your intelligence is like a decision making. Do this, do that, do this, do that. Your mind is presenting you an option. You have to choose. So time to go to gym, it's evening 6 o'clock. I have an option. Slack on the sofa and then watch a movie, or eat pizza, or go to gym. I can take a decision. I still have the control. That's where you use your mind, intelligence. Intelligence most of the time gets influenced by the mind. Oh, the top result is coming. Okay, slack down on the sofa and watch a movie. I'm going to take that decision. Default condition. We are not actively using the intelligence. We are just going in the default option. Whatever comes on the top, I'll just go ahead with that, right? So, that is the intelligence. The third one is the Atma. You are the person whom all these tools are used for. You, okay. Oh, one more thing I missed out is the ego part, okay. So the ego part is basically, it's like, think of you, when you put the virtual reality glass, you're looking into the virtual reality happening. You identify yourself with the avatar or the cartoon that is inside, correct? That identification is happening, correct? That is through the ahankar. You as an Atma, you exist separately, but you are identifying yourself with this material body. I am this material body. How is this happening? Why I am not able to identify I am as Atma? If you are putting a virtual reality, you should know that, I am a person sitting outside, not the person within that. But that is controlled by this ahankara, the false ego. It makes you think you are that within that virtual reality. So we are in a form of virtual reality. You can think, I'm thinking I'm this body because of that ahankara. So these are the different functions of the elements in the subtle body. There's detailed discussions are there in Bhagavatam 3rd canto, but we just looked at it in summary. Is that answered your question? Did? Also, the more important part is the desires. The desire which is impelling. It's not just sitting there, it's impelling, forces you. Somebody is sitting next to you and then whispering in your ears, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And then you go and do it like that. Yeah. So many times, just a practical understanding, if you sit quiet, there's a noise going on in your thoughts. Oh, this, that, and what happened there, what is in the office. That is mind's voice. Okay. So you have to control that. Think about Krishna like that. So that is where mind comes into picture.
So Prabhuji, when we are doing japa, and we say our mind wanders,
yes,
thinking about various things, and then when we say, no, focus back on japa, that is our intelligence telling us focus back on japa, or it's the mind itself?
The decision is taken by the intelligence, but again, the noise that's coming, that's the reflection of the mind. The noise, oh, focus back on japa. Oh, you are a rascal. No, you are not focusing here. All these are just mind blabbering. Okay. Okay, so 7th to 9th verses, Krishna is talking about qualification to start practicing Ashtanga Yoga. What are all the qualifications? Let's read this. Jitatmana prashantasya paramatma samahitaha shitoshna sukha dukkheshu tatha mana pamanayo. Again, you can use the mind's voice to chant all the time internally. So it's a tool. It's like a knife. You can use it for killing somebody, or you can do surgery, or you can use it for cooking, depending on who is holding the knife and what is your intention. Okay. Translation, please. Did you read? You read, okay, beginning.
For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same.
So this is talking about the goal to encourage the person. If you have conquered your mind, most of the things are already done. Okay, that's why you have already achieved the goal, achieved the super soul. Most of the things are already done. That's the main battle, is controlling your mind. To such a man, heat and cold, is not so much worried about it, because suddenly there is a heat. What happens? The senses give the input to the mind. The mind says, oh, heat I don't like, I want cold, right? But he has controlled, so he can take a decision. It's okay. He tolerates. Cold, it's okay, he tolerates. Somebody comes and spits on his face, he tolerates. Somebody comes and praises him. Oh, Prabhu, your class was amazing. He's tolerant. Don't become excited. Or all the same, that person has to consider. That is the qualification for practicing Ashtanga Yoga. Not he has achieved the goal, but he has to continue his practice. Jnana Vijnana Triptatma Kotastho Vijitendriyaha Yukta Yityuchyate Yogi Samaloshrashma Kanchanaha.
A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones or gold, as the same.
So when you perform karma yoga and then you nishkam karma yoga and then you purify your heart, you start becoming self-satisfied. You don't seek others' company to or other objects' company to satisfy yourself. So at that point, it's a stone or a gold does not matter to you, because the person is not thinking, oh, gold, it is going to satisfy me. Stone, it's not going to satisfy me. That understanding is not there. So the heart has been purified. This person is qualified for practicing Ashtanga Yoga. So he does not see any distinction between the different objects that are available. Yes.
One question is, in the previous verse, he talks about honor and dishonor, right? That is related to the ego, false ego, that we have, that I, that somebody is hurting my ego.
Correct.
So how do we control that part? It's very difficult to get over that.
Okay, neither I have controlled. But anyways, we'll just look at what is, our gurus have mentioned. So if somebody is hurting our ego, that is why we should be in the association of the devotees to remind ourselves, okay? So that the remembrance comes. Most of the time we forget. I should not get excited or agitated too much, right? So we should not get that thought. We should remember it continuously. That's why we read the scriptures. We discuss with the devotees. We try to, remind each other about this point in the beginning stage. Once you are purified more and more and more and more, then things automatically come, because you are not looking for somebody's praise, or if somebody is saying, it's okay. You don't... See, first of all, when they are scolding you, right? They are not scolding you as the Atma. Atma is always pure. It's never contaminated. It is so pure that it can associate with the Lord directly. Huh? But when they are scolding about your thought process, or your external gross body, or your, mindset, all these things, correct? Or the actions that are taken because of your mindset, all this. So they are scolding the subtle body and the cross body, not you as the Atma. Because I am identifying, okay, I am this subtle body, I am this gross body. That is why I become agitated. When the identification is separated, okay, they are scolding about this thought process, which is just a mind, or they are scolding about this physical body, which is anyways not me. Then we can, try to. That's a very yogic way to understand. But if you like in a Krishna conscious way or Bhakti way, you can say Krishna is just teaching me humility, and somebody is scolding me. We become humble. Okay, tolerate it. Tolerance is the key word. Just need to tolerate it. Okay. Suhrun mitrari udasina madhyastha dveshya bandhushu sadushvapi chapapeshu samabuddhir vishishyate. Translation, please.
Hare Krishna. A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral, mediators, the envious, friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind.
Yeah, okay. So different people Krishna is listing out. All of them are treated equally by this person who has purified his heart. Honest well-wisher is where he is looking for your welfare, or he is trying to be jealous of you, or he is trying to harm you, or he is friends with you because he is your relative. All these people you are treating equally. There is no difference. This again we are discussing about Ashtanga Yoga. Do not think we are still discussing about Bhakti Yoga, but you can apply some of the principles in Bhakti Yoga as well. So these are the qualifications. Previously we saw he is looking at all the objects equally, pebbles and gold equally. Now we are seeing all the persons are treated equally. He is a little bit higher advanced than the previous person. That's why here it is said, a person is considered still further advanced. Not just seeing gold and stones equal, is also looking at the person who is scolding him and friend. both of them he is seeing equal. That's a higher yogi. All these people are qualified for practicing Ashtanga Yoga. Now from verse 10 onwards, the process of Ashtanga Yoga will be mentioned until verse 32. So in first 5 verses, Krishna will be discussing about specific practices, what you do in Ashtanga Yoga. That is what he is going to discuss. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rakasti stithaha ekaki yata chittatma nirashirapi aparigraha. Translation.
A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness.
Okay. So he is engaging his body, mind, and soul, everything in the process of dhyana on the Supreme Lord. And he lives in a secluded place. This is Ashtanga Yoga process. Somebody says, you can live in the city and practice Ashtanga Yoga. No, you have to go alone. You have to live in a secluded place. That's why you see some of the yogis in India, they go to the Himalayas, very secluded place. And then, or the bank of the Ganges, like good holy places. They live their secluded life. And they try to control their mind. Their mind is still not controlled. They are still trying to control the mind so that they can fix the mind on one particular object, that is the Paramatma. Shuchau deshe pratisthapya sthiramasanamatmanah natyuchritam nati nicham Chalilajina kushotaram tatraikagram manah kritva yata chittendriya kriyaha upavishyasane yunjyat yogamatma vishuddhaye.
To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with deer skin and soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in the sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, sense, and activities and fixing the mind on one point.
Yeah. So you should go to the forest and put a kusha grass. First, you have preparing your seat. You don't want to sit in somebody else's seat. You have to have your own seat. You put a kusha grass, and then on top of that, you put a deer skin. It's some places it's illegal to get a deer skin. Anyways, you put a deer skin, and then on top of that, you put a nice cloth, and that's your seat to practice yoga. And you sit in a cave or the bank of a pure holy river or something. And then you sit on top of that, and then you should start meditating. The seat shouldn't be too much high, too much low. It should be balanced. Nice. Samam kaya shirogrivam dharayanna chalam stiraha samprekshanasikagram swam dishashchanavalokayan prashantatma vigadabhir brahmachari vrate stitah manas samyamya machitto yukta asita matparah. Translation.
One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life.
So when you're sitting for yoga meditation, so you should straight, your body, neck, and torso, everything is straight. You don't slack and then start meditating. You should be straight. And then you should follow brahmacharya. You should be free from sexual life. And you should have fearlessness. You should not be fearful of anything. But the person may be sitting in the forest, middle of the forest. He shouldn't be fearful about the living beings there, entities, all these things, or snakes, or whatever it is. He has to have complete fearlessness, and that comes from purification of mind. And then he starts meditating upon the Supreme Lord, upon me, Krishna says, within the heart. That is the Paramatma form. And that is his goal, ultimate goal to attain. So Prabhupada says here, the goal of life is to know Krishna, who is situated within the heart of every living being as Paramatma, the four-handed Vishnu form. Okay. The 15th verse, Krishna is talking about what will happen, what is the result of this Ashtanga Yoga practice. That is what he is talking. Yunjanevam sadatmanam yogi niyatamanasa shantim nirvana paramam matsangstham adhikachyati.
Thus, practicing constant control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist, his mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God or the abode of Krishna by cessation of material existence.
Yeah. So, this is the result. Again, there are some things that are, I think it comes later or left out. Anyways, I'll just tell. Oops. Okay, so for example, when you are sitting for your yogic meditation, you should also not fully close your eyes. When you fully close your eyes, what happens? You start snoring. So you'll fall asleep. So you don't fully close your eyes. But you don't keep it open as well, because you'll get agitated looking at so many things are happening. So you do a half close. You have to half close your eyes and then look up, either point toward your nose, you can look at it, or you can look at the middle of the brow. These are the processes where you do that. And by following this process, you attain to the kingdom of God, that is the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, starting from the Brahmaloka onwards, not Brahmaloka, I mean, the Brahma Jyoti onwards, it's all spiritual world above. Yes.
So, Prabhuji, here in the verses, sometimes he refers as supreme, as himself, or sometimes he says me. So, I always used to think when he's saying, sometimes he say him. I always used to think that when he is saying supreme or him, he's referring to Paramatma or Vishnu. And when he's saying me, that means he's referring to himself. Right? But in 14th verse, or in 15th verse, 14th verse you said, meditate on Paramatma.
Mm-hmm.
So is it Krishna or is it Paramatma. When the yogi, I'm not talking about Bhakti Yoga, I'm talking about Ashtanga Yoga. When they meditate, do they meditate on Krishna or the Paramatma, which they think it's Vishnu?
Yeah, it's a 400 Vishnu form. Again, we are talking about the core Ashtanga Yogi. As I said previously, people start mixing up things as well. In yoga also, you can mix up bhakti. You can start meditating on Krishna form also. That's more like, bhakti. You're putting Krishna bhakti there more and more. If you have more Krishna bhakti, then it becomes bhakti yoga mishra bhakti rather than bhakti mishra yoga. Bhakti mishra yoga is bhakti mixed with yoga. It is yoga, but you mix bhakti. But more and more bhakti you add, it becomes yoga mishra bhakti. It's bhakti, but some elements of yoga is there. Okay? So all people, it's not like, black and white. It's a gradation. From here to there, people can be situated anywhere. Sometimes when Krishna says, meditate on the Supreme, it's more or less like the usage of the word. For example, when the king comes to the court, he says, the king has arrived. Referring to himself, not that somebody else has come. Sometimes the word you speak to increase the majesty of that speech. All right, which verse we were reading? We have to start 16. Okay. Natyashnatastu yogosti nachaikantam mana anashnataha nachati swapnashilasya jagrato naiva charjuna.
Hare Krishna. There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, O Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough.
Okay, so 16th verse and 17th verse, Krishna is talking about the restrictions for the practitioners. What restrictions they have to follow? Not eating too much, not eating too little, not sleeping less, or not too much sleeping. So the question comes like, how much we should eat? So usually, the general guideline is you eat half stomach and then the quarter of your stomach you fill up with water and the quarter of the stomach you have to keep it empty. How do you measure? Should we put a scanner here and then measure? It's my half stomach fill or something. So the general guideline, thumb rule is when you are sitting for eating and you eat, when you are sitting for eating, first of all you should be hungry. You should feel hunger. Then you eat when you are getting up, you should still have hunger. You should not feel completely satisfied. That means you have too much eaten. You should wake up with hunger, little bit hunger, not too much hunger, little bit hunger should be there. That's a thumb rule you can use when you are waking up. Sleeping, I think body to body it differs. Generally the guideline Prabhupada gives is 6 hours, but some people require 7.5 hours or whatever. Unless otherwise they cannot function properly. So depending on what you need, you observe yourself over a period and then you find out what is right sleep for you to function properly. So if you are very much elevated in spiritual practice, you sleep actually very, very less. Prabhupada was sleeping for 2 hours. Bhakti Vinod Thakur was also sleeping for 2 hours or 3 hours, something like that. So depends on how elevated you are. Famous verse, Yuktahara viharasya Yukta cheshtasya karmasu Yukta swapnavabodhasya Yogo bhavati dukkha. If you're you're attending Bhakti Sastri class? No, that's okay, no problem. These are students. But feel free to attend the sessions. It's for everyone. Okay. Your name, please? Sridhar. Nice to meet you.
Translation: He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system.
Yeah. Regulation, balance, that is required in everything. So in the 18th verse, Krishna is talking about, maybe I'll give you some time to write. Maybe all of you are writing for some. Okay. So in the 18th verse, Krishna is saying, when the yoga is complete, when the person has to understand that the yoga, he has achieved the final destination. Yada viniyatam chittam atmanyeva vatisthate nispriha sarva kamebhyo yuktai ityuchyate tada.
When the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to be well established in yoga.
So all the mind chatter and everything is gone. His mind is completely fixed. There is no more chatter inside. There is no more noise going on in your thought process. Mind. You're sitting here, but some dog is barking inside your head. That's not happening here. Everything is completely stopped, which is what Patanjali also has said in his Yoga Sutras. Chitta vritti nirodha yogaha. So chitta vritti, chitta is your internal organ. Vritti is like waves agitating, just like the waves of the ocean. It's completely keep on. So many thought processes are coming in your mind. Always thinking this, that, what happened in office yesterday, what is going to happen tomorrow, what should I do next week, or next moment what is going to happen, that day what the other person has done. All these things are going on in mind. Everything when it stops. The waves in the ocean has stopped. That is chitta vritti nirodha, cessation. That is yoga. That is what Krishna is also saying here. Disciplines his mental activities. His mental activities have sublimed and it is fixed in transcendence. That is in the Paramatma form. Does not have any material desires anymore. That person is said to be a yogi. Yoga. He is established in yoga. In the 19th verse, Krishna is talking about perfected yogi. Yatha dipo nivatastho yogino yata chittas, nengate sopama smrita yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogamatmanaha. No, sorry.
As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self.
Okay. So, just like a lamp in a windless place never agitates by the wind, so his mind is also completely controlled. And this is the same case with a Bhakti yogi also. When he is in the final prema stage, he is not disturbed by material activities, but he is constantly thinking about the pastimes of the Lord in the spiritual world. So he is not stopping, but he is thinking something else. He is transferring his thoughts somewhere else on the Krishna. That's a little difference. But he is materially not agitated, spiritually very active. But Ashtanga yogi, materially not agitated, spiritually inactive. He's not thinking about the pastimes of the Lord when he's spiritually inactive. He's just focusing on the form of the Lord. That's what it is. Okay. So in verse 20 to 22, Krishna is talking about the nature of samadhi. How does the samadhi look? And what do you get out of samadhi when the final stage is attained? Yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyannatmani tushyati sukhamaatyantikam yattat buddhigrahyam atindriyam veti yatra nachai vayam stitaschalati tattvataha yam ladva chaparam labham manyate nadhikam tataha yasmin stitho na dukkena gurunapi vichalyate tam vidya dukkha sanyoga viyogam yoga sangitam. By the way, this is, you can pronounce it as sam yoga or sanyoga. That's both. It's a Sanskrit thing. Translation, please.
In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact.
The person who has lost his wealth, once he finds out his wealth, what happens? He's completely satisfied. Oh, that's what you get. You are, when you attain samadhi, so joyful that you don't look for anything else. Why your mind is not agitated for anything else? Because so much happiness is coming. When you are so much happy, you would like to give something. You know, when we celebrate birthday party, you know, we are happy about our kid. What do? We throw a party to others. We want to give. We want to be joyful about it, right? So similarly, or one day you wake up in the morning, and then you feel so much happy in your mind. What do? You wake up and dance. So that's your joyful expression. So you are joyful completely inside. So you're not looking for something, rather you're ready to give to somebody else. So here, when the samadhi is achieved, the person is very joyful. He's not looking for anything in the material world. And he's going to never come out of that, because that is giving him so much happiness. So in the verse 24, Krishna talks about sense control. So you can say here onwards, you can say Krishna discusses about the Ashtanga Yoga, that which we previously discussed, the 8 limbs. The 8 limbs here. The Yama, Niyama, Pranayama, Asana, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. So all these things are giving in a summary form, Krishna is giving here. The sense control, Dharana, Dhyana, Pratyahara, all these things. From verse 24 onwards. Let's read. Sanischayena yoktavyo yogo nirvinna chetasa sankalpa prabhavan kamans tyaktva sarvana sheshata manasaivendriya gramam viniyamya samantataha.
Hare Krishna. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon, without exception, all material desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind.
Okay. So here, sense control is a little bit spoken. And in the previous verse, one thing I wanted to point out, which we missed it. Okay. So two things. One is in the previous verse, if you look at it, actually in the current verse only, I have put it wrongly anyways. So here he says, Krishna says, one should practice yoga with determination and faith. This is applicable in Bhakti Yoga also. Because when you practice for a long time, you may not achieve result quickly. You may be chanting for 20 years, 30 years, mind is still not controlled, basic things are, I'm not able to achieve, what is this, am I practicing or not? All these questions will come to your mind. So you should practice still with determination. So there is a story related in this aspect. There was one time a bird, a very small bird, but it has, it's a mother bird. So it has laid some eggs on the seashore. Because the bird has laid eggs on the seashore, when the waves came, it took away all the eggs. So this bird got very much depressed and angry that, my kids are all lost and it is my duty to save them. So what it started to do, with its small beak, it went and started picking up the water from the ocean and then put it on the shore, thinking that I will dry up the ocean and then I will get back the eggs. That is like our attempt in spiritual practice. There's an ocean, we are trying with our small beak, pick up the water and then put it on the shore. So at that time, Narada Muni comes on the way. Then he says, what are you trying to do? You are a small bird. You cannot possibly dry up the ocean. So he discourages. No, give up this. You continue to live your life. Why are you, putting all this struggle and pain upon yourself? Don't do it. Then the bird shows his determination. No, I want to dry up this ocean. I will do it. It goes and continues picking up water from its beak and then pouring it on the shore. So then Narada Muni, looking at the bird compassionately, goes to Garuda and then says, your relative has been hurt. Your relative's, but the eggs are stolen by the waves. So you should go and get it. Then when Garuda comes, he flaps his wings. The entire ocean becomes agitated and becomes very fearful. The Lord of the ocean, he comes out and then he says, please don't dry me up. I will give back the eggs. So he gives back the egg. With determination, when we practice, we may think that it is impossible to achieve, just like the bird is taking up the water, but the Lord shows his mercy. So we are depending on his mercy. And that's how we achieve. It may look like a big ocean, but we will get the result. We should be very much confident that in the process we are following is correct and we will get the result. Krishna will give the result. In the past, many people have achieved the result. So, in the previous verse, another thing I wanted to point out is Prabhupada uses the word. So, previous verse we discussed about Samadhi, how it looks. It's very joyful, correct? So, he quotes the Yoga Sutra. This is the last verse of Yoga Sutra. So, Yoga Sutra has 4 chapters. And the 4th chapter has 33 verses. And the last sutra, Prabhupada here points out, Purushartha sunyanam gunanam pratiprasavaha kaivalyam swarupa pratishtava chiti shakti riti. So here says, Purushartha sunyanam gunanam pratiprasavaha kaivalyam. The Purushartha means the goal for the human being. What are the goals for the human being? I want wealth. Wealth is one of the goals, right? Artha. I want enjoyment, I want happiness. That is kama, sense gratification. That is a goal for the human being. Then dharma. Dharma is not there. We cannot even do transaction in the world. Everybody kill each other and then just grab whatever you can. Dharma has to be established. Dharma is also a goal. Finally, you have to get out of all these things, moksha. These are the 4 goals. Purushartha sunyanam gunanam. When all these purusharthas are reduced, what happens? The gunas which are acting on your body, the sattva, rajas and tamas, they dissipate. When that gets dissipate, your subtle body and gross bodies disappear, and that state is called Kaivalya. Kaivalya is moksha, the liberated state. And that is what he says. That liberated state is Swarupa Pratishta. Swarupa Pratishta means you are fixated in your real Swarupa. That is your Jivatma. You are not material body anymore. Va means or. Chiti Shakti. Chiti Shakti means the spiritual energy of the Lord. So that means you have entered into the kingdom of God. You are not anymore here. So Prabhupada, again, he talks about Chitti Shakti specifically here, or internal potency is transcendental. So the point is, Yoga Sutras stop at a place where Bhakti Yoga picks it up. So Yoga Sutra says, you have entered into the kingdom. That is the last sutra of Yoga, Yoga Sutras, right? After that, what happens, he doesn't speak about. And then you have all the descriptions in Bhagavatam, the whole spiritual world, what happens. But he gives a hint there. Chitti Shakti Riti, that state is also called the Chitti Shakti, the internal potency of the Lord. That is the Yoga Maya. That's what Prabhupada talks about here in this particular purport. Okay, so yes, next verse. We have less time, so we need to complete a lot. How about we just read the translation? Yes. Who is next?
Gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence, sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. Yeah, so gradually, this is the dharana and dhyana process. You are first fixing on general form of the Lord, and then specific parts of the Lord you are meditating. So this is dharana and dhyana. That's what Krishna says here. The self here, Atma, means Paramatma. This is the another meaning. Okay. So that is why you have yes with the capital letter. Next translation.
From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. Okay, so mind will wander, you bring it back. That is Pratyahara stage. We discussed it previously, one of the 8 limbs of yoga. It goes away, bring it back. Goes away, bring it back. Then 27 to 31, again Krishna talks about the Samadhi stage. Okay, read please.
The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is freed from all reactions to past deeds. Okay, all the modes are not acting upon him, so he is not having karma anymore.
Hare Krishna. Thus the self-controlled yogi, constantly engaged in yoga practice, becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental loving service to the Lord.
So the yogi having a transcendental loving service to the Lord is just he is appearing as a parikara, or the person surrounding the Lord. That's all. He is not, unless he is practicing Bhakti Mishra Yoga, then he may not achieve, but Yoga Mishra Bhakti, he may not achieve real loving service to the Lord. Okay, so here the transcendental loving service to the Lord is basically he is appearing as a someone who is floating around the Lord in this spiritual kingdom. Next verse.
A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere.
So he sees the Lord everywhere, the Paramatma, not in just his heart. Now he is looking at the Lord. Wherever direction he turns, he is seeing the Supreme Lord.
For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me.
Right now, we are not able to see the Lord. Of course, we can look at the deity form of the Lord, but we are not able to understand the presence of the Lord everywhere. He is invisible to us. But at this stage, he is visible. He can see the Lord everywhere, not just in one place. And also, that person is never lost to the Lord. Lord is also seeing, he is also seeing the Lord. So both are for them are seeing each other.
Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the Supersoul, knowing that I and the Supersoul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances.
Yeah, so he is qualitatively identifying with the Supreme Lord, that he and the Supersoul are same Brahman. They are not material anymore.
He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna.
Here he talks about who is the best yogi. He described about the yogi previously, but who is the best yogi? That yogi not only realizes himself, but he has compassion to others as well. This is where the preaching aspect is coming into picture. When the person practices, this applies to any path, when he practices spiritual practice, he not only improves his own position, but he also becomes compassion to others, and he starts sharing this knowledge with others as well. And that is the best yogi compared to both the yogis. Okay. So that ends the prasa of Ashtanga Yoga. Now from 37 to 45, it is a discussion between Arjuna and Krishna about what will happen to the person when he fails in the yoga process. Failure is very common, especially in spiritual practice. Oh, no, we didn't. Okay, sorry. I missed it. We have one more thing. Oh, that's missing here. Oh, here, sorry. I missed this one. Yeah, difficulty in controlling mind and solution. So how to control the mind? That's what I was thinking. Where is it coming? Okay, let's read this. Thank you for pointing it out.
33 translation. Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady.
Practical question. Mind is restless. He is also saying the same thing. Arjuna, who could focus the arrow on the target, hit it very nicely, he is saying, mind is very difficult to control. No, we can only think about, how our mind is going to be.
The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind.
So, if you look at the verse, he uses 4 terms: Chanchalam, Pramati, Balavat, Dhrudam. So, the mind is Chanchala, very agitating, thinking so many things, correct? Just like the elephant, when it goes mad, it just goes here and there running, and whatever comes in its way, it just plucks out. That's like mind. Pramati. Pramati means it is also harassing. Another meaning of pramati is harassing. The elephant is not just roaming around madly in the field, but it's harassing to kill you also. That's the mind. It's not just roaming around here and there. Sometimes it falls into depression. It causes, self-infliction. It creates. And on top of that, it is balavat. It's very strong. You cannot overcome. Okay, he's harassing me. If he's a small enemy, I can just beat the heck out of him and then I can defeat him. No, it's very, very strong. You cannot control. Not only that, dhrida. Not that for some time it will do that and then leave it. Fixed. Continuously it is going to do it. That is what Arjuna is saying. That is mind. That is why he is saying, even I can control the wind, but mind is very difficult to control. Next one.
Lord Sri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment.
Okay, so Krishna gives the solution. 2 words he is using, Abhyasa and Vairagya. That is the solution for controlling the mind. Abhyasa means repetition. repeatedly you need to try to bring the mind under control. While you are chanting, mind roams around here and there. We repeatedly bring it back again and again and again to the holy name and Krishna. That is the abhyasa, repetition. Anything you want to achieve in your life, you have to repeat. That is what they call it, practice. Before going to a cricket match or a soccer game, the player has to practice a lot. Or a football. Vairagya means detachment. So you could very well do so many things, but you have to detach yourself from other things which are not useful. If you are practicing for football, you need to dedicate your time and you have to repeatedly kick the ball and then practice it. So for that, you need to detach yourself from enjoyment. You cannot go and drink beer and then enjoy and then come to the sports and then play. You have to detach yourself from sense gratification. If you want to crack IIT, you have to sit and study. You cannot simply go with friends and enjoy, correct? Yeah. So you have to have abhyasa and vairagya. This is the solution. Krishna says you can control. It is possible. He is saying it's not impossible, it's possible. Next one.
For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion.
Yes. So, without mind control, there is no spiritual practice. He says, that's mandatory. And when you practice it properly, the spiritual practice, you will achieve success. Krishna says, that is my opinion. Do not think that you will never achieve success. You will achieve success. That's his opinion. God is giving his word. Okay, so the next verses are going to discuss about the destination of failed yogi. What happens if a yogi practices and then fails in the middle?
Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism?
So I have given up my material enjoyment. I started practicing spirituality. I didn't go with my friends and then booze, or I didn't go with my friends and enjoy the world. And then I became 50 years old. Now I am not practicing Bhakti Yoga also. I gave up. Now I neither enjoyed the material world nor I achieved successful result in spiritual practice. What is my destination?
Hare Krishna. O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere?
Perish like a riven cloud. So when you have a big cloud, like a small part of it comes out of it, what happens? Easily dissipates and disappears. He says, doesn't this person neither here nor there, his life is entirely lost and wasted? That is not very palatable. What is his position? So he's asking.
This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt.
Okay.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Son of Pritha, transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil.
One who does good is never overcome by evil. Krishna gives this guarantee. Just even if you have performed a small thing, you are never going to miss out things. Main problem we have is we will miss out. We have to enjoy one lifetime. Let's enjoy whatever we can. Right? No, you are never going to miss out on things. You will get enjoyment. Krishna is going to answer.
The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy.
So he gives this guarantee that if the person is not achieved the final liberation, what happens? He first of all is sent to higher planetary systems to enjoy his life there. Enjoyment is there, the missed out enjoyment. And after that, he is born into a yogi family. Certain people are born into certain families. From the beginning, they are introduced into Krishna consciousness. For example, we see many kids, or in other paths also, they born into a parents who are practicing spirituality very nicely. How does that happen? Unsuccessful yogis, yoga brashta, fallen yogis, not fallen yogis who are not completed. So they are fallen into that place, or you take birth in a rich family where you don't need to worry about your everyday means, so that you can practice nicely. So all these facilities are arranged by Krishna for the unsuccessful yogi. So Prabhupada also talks about himself. I think in this purport or next. Anyways. Yes.
Or if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly such a birth is rare in this world.
He is born into a spiritual practitioner family, and that is very, very rare. So here is where Prabhupada talks about himself. So here he says, by the grace of the Lord, there are still families that foster transcendentalists generation after generation. It is certainly very fortunate to take birth in such families. Fortunately, both our spiritual master, Om Vishnupada Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaja, and our humble self, Prabhupada is referring to him and his guru, had the opportunity to take birth in such families by the grace of the Lord. And both of us were trained in the devotional service of the Lord from the very beginning of our lives. Later on, we met by the order of the transcendental system. Okay, so Prabhupada gives his own example.
Text 43. On taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success. O son of Kuru.
You see, some people, when they take to spiritual practice, they suddenly grow very fast in the spiritual practice. Sometimes we may be doing for years, and then suddenly one person comes, and then he becomes very, very great position he achieves, not in terms of like temple president or anything, but in terms of inner purification of the heart and the devotion to Krishna. That's because he has practiced in this previous life. It is continuing in this life.
Can I also ask a question, Prabhuji? It's my turn.
I'm racing with the time. How about 4 more verses? I will come back, okay?
By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles, even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures.
Everything comes automatically to him, even though he doesn't seek. Somebody comes and gives book to you, and then you take it very seriously, and then you come to ISKCON, and then you start practicing. How does that happen? We give book to hundreds and hundreds of people. Very rarely people take it seriously and come, because previous practice. Next one.
And when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contamination, then ultimately achieving perfection after many, many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal.
So this time when he practices and advances himself more, he or she. And then even if he is not able to achieve the final destination, continues on to the next birth until the person finally achieves the final state of liberation. 46th verse onwards, Krishna here, this is very important, 46 and 47, he grades the spiritual practitioners.
A yogi is greater than the ascetic, greater than the empiricist, and greater than the fruitive worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances be a yogi.
Okay, so here I'm going to use the Sanskrit words. There is the tapasvi. Tapasvi means one person who is practicing austerities. So many austerities, especially if you go to see the Kumbh Mela, which happens in India, so many different spiritual practitioners will come. There's an tapasvis, you would see real austerities. They will just hold their hand above their head for years and years. And the hand would have melted. Very severe austerity. They will come. That is the tapasvi. Better than that ascetic, Krishna says, the yogi. That is the Ashtanga Yoga process. That person is better than that. And then he is also better than the Jnani. Okay, so the Jnani is better than the Tapasvi and the Yogi is better than the Jnani. Okay, and who are all better than the Karmis. So you have, at the bottom you have the Karmis, then the Tapasvi, then the Jnani, then the Yogi. This is the gradation Krishna gives. Where is Bhakti Yogi here? Huh? Where? He didn't say. He'll come. So next verse, please.
And of all yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion.
Krishna says, the devotee is the highest of all, than all the yogis. And why does he say that is my opinion? Because everybody has their own opinion that their yoga is the best. But for Krishna, Bhakti Yoga is the best. That is his opinion. His opinion rules over everything else. So this is the last verse of this chapter. We are completed. So we will take questions now for 5 minutes and we'll stop it here. Yes, Mataji, you had a question.
Prabhuji, I have 2 questions.
Yes.
So here back when Arjuna asks that what happens to the yogi who is not able to complete, he's talking about the yogi in the Ashtanga Yoga process. He is definitely not talking about the karmi.
Yes.
As one has to transcend to do the Jnana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga to be qualified for the...
So is he talking about only the Ashtanga Yogi or is he talking about the other yogis also?
Yeah.
So he is talking about Ashtanga Yogi specifically, but the same principle is applicable everywhere. Because if you look at 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, what he said, Swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayato magato bhayat. Even do small bit saves you. What is that referring to? Bhakti Yoga as well as Karma Yoga. So all the yoga processes, in general, Krishna is giving solution. That is why I said one of the benefits of this chapter is we take some of the principles which are applicable for other paths as well, which includes Bhakti Yoga. So it is applicable for all the paths. Yes.
One last question, Prabhuji.
Yes, please.
So in the text where he's talking about the mind control from 20 onwards, 20 to 26, he is always saying that at the end of the text he would say, focus your mind on the Supreme, focus your mind on me.
Yes.
But then in 25th onwards, he says, fix your mind on the self alone. So is he now talking about the soul or is he again talking about the Supreme?
Yeah. So Atma, he says, again as I said, Atma has many meanings. One of the meanings is Paramatma and another meaning is Jivatma. It is both in the sense that you first recognize yourself, then you recognize the Paramatma. That is the path. First you identify who you are, then you identify who is God. Both things happen. So you can either take it that way or you can take it as general instruction for the Ashtanga yogis to meditate on Paramatma. So both are applicable there.
So Prabhuji, one more question.
Yes.
In text 32, when he's talking about the best yogi, he says when he realizes himself, and he's the one who realizes himself and he has compassion for others too. So realizes himself, what does that mean, Prabhuji?
Realizes means he has achieved the final. Theoretically, now we studied the whole chapter. You know what is Samadhi? Did you realize it? Realize means like you have milk in your hand. I am saying this is milk. Then you take the milk and then drink it. That's realization. you know now what is milk. Like I can talk about gulab jamun for the entire lecture. Unless you take the gulab jamun and put it in your mouth, you will have theoretical knowledge. Once you put the gulab jamun in your mouth, that becomes realization. So you have now full understanding of what is that sweet he is talking about. So similarly, though we have theoretical knowledge, when you realize it, then that becomes the practical knowledge. So you are in samadhi. That is the realization.
Has he realized the God? I mean, he's focusing on the
Paramatma and Jivatma. He realized himself as well as Paramatma. He has realized both. Yes.
I think it was verse 44 or 45 where it said that the yoga chases the practitioner even without seeking. And then I remember the 4 classes of seekers: the distress, the desire of wealth, one who's seeking knowledge, and one who's seeking the absolute truth. So does the person who has made progress and the yoga is chasing that person without seeking, is that person outside of those 4 categories?
Okay. So those specific 4 persons which are discussed in that I think 7th or 8th chapter, I guess. So they are mixed bhaktas, mixed devotees. They are not in this Ashtanga yoga process. They are mixed devotees. They are beginning their bhakti path, but they have desires mixed up. It's not pure bhakti. Pure bhakti means I follow bhakti for the satisfaction of the Lord, not for getting house, or my children has to pass the examination, or I have to get a promotion. All these things become mixed bhakti. So that person who is following pure bhakti does not have any desire. But the 4 persons mentioned in Bhagavad Gita in that specific verse, Artha Jigyasa Artharthi Jnani, they are mixed devotees. They have desire, something other than the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Okay. Thank you. Yes. This is 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. We'll stop here. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. This is Shyamchandra Das. So, yes. Such a wonderful class, Prabhu. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes, Prabhu.
So, I'm a pictorial guy. You represented it in a very nice way, and nice questions and nice answers also, Prabhu. I'm so fortunate to attend the class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you
Hare
so
Krishna,
much.
Prabhuji. This is Pramendra from Calgary. Prabhuji, even this PPT was really nice, and it gives a full summary. So thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Hare
thank
Krishna.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, I can share the PPT. Maybe I'll share with somebody who can share in the group. I'm not in the WhatsApp group, but I'll share with somebody who's having access to.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.